How to receive blessings for money. Hello everybody, I'm Fracka Future and welcome to the Vanguard of Light, where we help energy sensitive people take it to the next level by really embracing there's this non-physical world. As an energy sensitive, you get there's more going on than just this physical world. That there's an energetic field out here and there's magic to be happening. And guess what? There's a source of all things. And you can interact with the energy field, with source, and magic can get created. And you might have just a little touch of it, or feeling like, yeah, I think there's something like that. Or you've been down the rabbit hole, more like coming up out of the rabbit holes, like I like to call it, and really get that, this stuff is real. But come this channel, check it out, because we'll be talking about how this is real and really making it, evident in your life, because it's such a magical world, especially if you've come from a traumatic past, because it can super help to heal all that. Trauma also helps you kind of get a little more in touch with some of these non-physical stuff, because you really have to pull onto that because of being in such, kind of bad circumstances. So, but this isn't about trauma. We're talking about money. So, which will be linked to a lot of trauma stuff. Shh. But anyway, so blessings for money. So first, number one is always bless someone else first. Ideally 10 people. So if you want to have a greater financial abundance, it'd be bless 10 other people first. Preferably a couple you don't like so much. Because really get past of if you don't want them to have money, well, maybe you don't really need to be wanting it. Or because if money is positive, then that positivity would help those people you don't like not be so not likable, right? But a lot of times we don't have that association to money. So this is where money becomes there's a lot of funky monkey in money, right? So I will give you techniques for enhancing that. Possibly in this video, possibly in another one, if you give me comments saying, hey, I want you to go deep on this because I really want it. Yeah. But let's get into this. The money. There's a couple, where it gets funky is that especially when you don't have money, it really skews kind of what money can do. Because when you don't have money or in scarcity, money really does matter. You have people that are rich, or even just once you get above about 80,000, that's what they say in the studies, I guess. But it is about 80,000, in the US, obviously in different countries, it would be higher or lower. But that's really pretty much all your needs are taken care of. You can have nicer stuff, the further up you go, it'd be nicer and fancier, but it's not. There's really, especially once you've crossed that and been past that for a while, not even a year, it's not as impactful as it seems if you're under. If you're under the 80, especially closer and closer to the lower ends, it is a big deal. Money is a huge deal. When it's a struggle to get the food in your mouth, money is a huge deal. When you're always worried about what you're buying and, can I get this food? Can I get that? Can I buy this shirt? Do I have enough money to get some new shoes? I'm not talking the fancy new shoes. I'm just talking about some cheap, Walmart shoes, because my other ones got holes in it. My feet hurt when I walk. When you don't have money on that level, money is everything. It isn't everything in the actual sense, but it consumes you. And rightfully so, because it's becomes a really big struggle. But it causes a skew as to okay, well, if I had more money or this amount or big amounts, then all of my problems and issues would go away. And it's not true. I can give you a perfect example, right? But the why it gets tweaky, let me, if you want to hear why it gets tweaky, you want to hear it? Is because it is a spiritual thing. Money is a spiritual thing. And it's a spiritual thing of creation. And I'm going to explain that to you too. But let me go back to the example. Okay, so back to the example of Like money really isn't the thing that you want, right? So here's an example. Let's say I give you $1 million, easily. Here, you can have $1 million, no big deal, right? I have one caveat with it, but here you go, $1 million. You might think like, oh my gosh, I totally want it, right? My one caveat is, you don't get to spend it. You just have it. Now all of a sudden, $1 million really doesn't matter, does it? Not much use to you, right? Now if I said, okay, I'm gonna give you a persistent feeling of love. Oh yeah, I'll take that. I'm gonna give you a deep sense of connection. Oh yeah, press that magic button, boom, right? But if I was like, okay, I'm gonna give you $1 million, you can't spend. Because you've got a deep sense of connection, you don't wanna spend it and get rid of it. If you got persistent love, you don't wanna spend and get rid of it. But the magic where money is that it can provide a vehicle to create experiences that might give you some of these deeper senses and feelings. But those are what you really want. It's not the money. Because, take $1 million and, our government could give everybody $10 million, just can't ever access it or spend it. Does it make you feel abundant? Does it make you feel wealthy? No, you got $10 million you can't spend, just sitting there that can't ever do anything with. You have it. Of course, now if you had a big old sense of love consistently, oh my gosh, that'd be wonderful. So that's the kind of example where like having money doesn't really do anything, right? And it's like once you get past 80, like those experiences don't necessarily get bigger, more intense, more amazing per se either, just because with the money. Like it doesn't like, he's like, oh, I'll buy a new car every week. And actually that's what will drive you down to distraction and actually make money be horrible and actually be a cancer to your life, is where it becomes like a substitute. And it's a what's it called? A siren. It's a sneaky, seductive siren, because you can think like, okay, once I get to this level, then my experiences will be, so much better. When it's really low, it actually is true. It does make a huge difference. Money makes a big, big difference, like huge. But about 80K. A lot less than you probably thought, up to where it's like, okay, so whether you got the super fancy car or a really decent working car, a reliable car, it doesn't super change your feelings, right? And having 4 of them or 5 of them or 10 of those luxury cars isn't 10 times better, isn't 10 times more. It can be 10 times the distraction, where you might have bad feelings inside and it helps keep you away from those bad feelings, but that's where it's a curse. Because it's those bad feelings, once they get liberated, you get to the deeper, your deeper purpose, your deeper feelings. You get that, sense of awesomeness, wonder in life and like fantasticness, right? So there's nothing, and kind of the building of money is where it's like that is spiritual, right? But then there's like, you can have it where you can stay on your spiritual path, right? And build money and be on your spiritual path, because it's kind of the part of it, and not have those fall offs. There's just those risks of like where you fall off, and it's kind of like you want your money to take away pain by distraction, and that just doesn't work out well for you. And then you end up giving up, relationships, your health, all of that in the questing for money, because you do get that spiritual component of money, because you at least get a little bit of taste of that, but then you use it to distract yourself from the pains, which are those are what need to be liberated. So let me talk a little bit about the spiritualness of money and how that is. Say I have a product, right? I got this widget A, right? And I'm going to sell it to you for $10. The only reason that you would give me $10 for that widget A, right, is if you thought it was worth more than $10, right? Because it wouldn't make any sense that, like, say the widget A cost me $10 to make, and you're going to give me $10, and it gives you $10 of value, and I get your $10 bill. What's the point of doing it? It took effort for us to do that transaction. Nothing. There'd be no point of me giving you $10 and you give me $10 back. Versus I create a product that costs me less than $10, right? And you buy it for $10 because you think it's going to be worth more than $10. There's no purpose of you giving me a $10 bill for something that you think is $10. There's no increase there. But here's the situation is like, I get the $10, you get the product. I feel like I have had a win, right? Because it cost me less than 10 to make it. And you feel like you got a win because it was worth more than 10 for you to get it. So now all of a sudden you have that magic that got created. Just by us doing that transaction, value was created. There's that, and it can be small or large, but there's like that, what is that? That non-physical, mystical creation of value just by doing that exchange. And that's kind of where like this wealth and creating a wealth, you get that spiritual component, right? So there's nothing wrong with it, nothing bad with it. It's just then what happens after of like, oh, now I can use it for my distraction. So anyway, back to the blessings. So if you want, I just want to put those little caveats in there. If you want more on this and actually to really go deep into how to not so much attract, but really be in the flow of that spiritual connection to money and avoiding the other parts, because there are dark forces, and if they can get you hooked into like, you know, doing the spiritual part of money, but then use distraction to keep you in imprisonment, they can create a lot of bad. And they're really attracted to that because there's a super force that always gets you hooked. You know, it's kind of like this addiction of like, oh, I got this spiritual thing, and then they drive you into bad stuff. So if you want more on that, hit me comments. But anyway, so back to just a simple way and a protective way in which if you want to have blessings for money, it's really simple, and I've talked about a bunch, is give blessings to 10 other people first. Definitely do 10. With money, do 10. So 10 other people, you would want them to have the blessing of money that you want. Don't get stingy, you know. Don't be like, I want to be a millionaire and they can have 20 bucks. No. And also, so you'll notice that if you don't have many people that you could bless, like close in your world, that want similar amount of money that you want, that's also a clue of like there's a dissonance there to where your peer group isn't really resonating with where you're resonating, right? And it's unconsciously, that means you're not necessarily resonating there. So it's just to realize like, okay, maybe I'm not really resonating, but you still can bless them for what they want, and then bless some people that, you know, maybe you don't like so much. And if there's a big resistance of I don't want those people to have money, then you've got to break. Because if money is a spiritual thing and you don't want them to have deeper spiritual connection, then there's something going on there, you know? Because their deeper connection to spirit, to source, would eliminate any kind of issue or beef you've got with them. And if you're not willing to let go of that beef, then you're not really getting in alignment with source. So asking source for blessings is not going to really work out. You can kind of see that, can't you? Can you see that? And it's fine to have that. I mean, you just keep blessing and that will start getting eliminated. You know, just be like, okay, I probably need to do a couple more blessings for other people. And then so you can do people you don't necessarily love, don't like. And then even if you just don't have people in your world that are just, they're not on that vibration of like, you know, money, spiritual, and that you should have more of it, then you can bless people you don't know, possibly famous people, even billionaires, of like, well, I bless that they get money, you know, in the amounts of 10 times of what I want. And then see if you got hiccups there of like, but they have so much already. You're like, once again, you want to limit what the spiritual connection other people have. That's just a sign of like, there's something up there, right? And there's a lot. I mean, that's just, you're going to run into that with money. Money's a weird one. It can be a big old rabbit hole. That's why you guys got to put in the comments of like, yeah, come on, Fracka, take us down the rabbit hole because we want it. And like my previous examples, you don't necessarily want it, but it can facilitate a lot, right? You don't necessarily want like, here's the million, you can't spend it. You don't really want it, but it can facilitate a lot, and it can be used to create a lot of magic and create the opportunity for experiences and help highlight the possibility of experiences, or highlight of like, hey, wow, here's just a magical thing. Am I having that experience? I am or I'm not. If I'm not, okay, there's my work. There's my work to do. And not use, well, let me try something bigger and grander and more flashy to not do my work, because then it'll be a curse. But it doesn't have to be a curse. So the main thing for today, just to review it with money is, and it'll self-correct of that, bless 10 other people with a similar amount of money that you want or more. Don't go cheap. That won't work. Bless them, really see them, and you can watch some other videos on how to turbocharge your blessings, right? And we can go deep on that, on the turbo. I gave you the basic level. It can go deep. Give me comments. I want that too, but just bless them. Think of the abundance that you want. Like, yep, that person struggles. I definitely want them in abundance. I want them free. Whew. And think of another one. Like, yeah, they might not think they're struggling, but I can see them struggling. Like, oh, I want them to have a freedom around that too. Another one. It's like, I want you to have a freedom there. I want them to be free. Let's see, who else do I want? Think of another person. It's like, you know what? Boom. I want that person free there. I'm going for people I don't necessarily awesomely fond of. Like, no, I want them to be free. And I want them to be free. And I want them to be free. And really get into that. I'm like, I'm going to bless them. And then be like, oh yeah, me. Yeah, I kind of want, some of that stuff I was blessing them. I want some of that on me too. All right. So hopefully I helped with the money. If you wanted to go deeper, let me know, because it is kind of a rabbit hole. There is some kind of stuff to it. I've explained a little bit. It does get deeper, but I'm willing to, if you guys say, yeah, I want it, because it is like kind of a side one, because it's not what you want. It can facilitate getting what you want. I'm really all about getting you what you want. If you say that's what you want me to focus on to then help you get more stuff that you want, we'll do it. So until we talk again, have a blessed day or a blessed night.